Alright folks, it's another episode of America's Hometown Horror, and before we start, it's time to thank one of our sponsors, our very loyal sponsor, HelloFresh. Do you feel like you're stuck in a dinner rut? With HelloFresh, you get pre-measured ingredients with mouth-watering seasonal recipes delivered right to your door. Skip all those trips to the grocery store and count on HelloFresh to make home cooking easy, fun, and affordable. Wow, what a combination. You can now enjoy cooking and get dinner on the table in 30 minutes or less. With over 25 recipes to choose from each week, there is something for everyone to enjoy. All recipes are designed and tested by professional chefs and nutritional experts to ensure deliciousness and simplicity. Go to the link in our show notes. That's right, when you listen to our show. Go down, scroll down, you'll see them. To get $80 off, including free shipping on HelloFresh, the number one meal kit. How about that? $80 off the first shipment of HelloFresh.
Kind of a great deal. I don't know why you wouldn't take that.
Absolutely. If you don't like going to the grocery store, if you like having things picked out for you in terms of cooking, not my particular way.
You get to pick your own recipes for the week. It's awesome. Yeah. I love HelloFresh.
But go to the link in our show notes, get $80 off HelloFresh, the number one meal kit, and away we go. Yo, what's up? What is up, folks? And welcome into another episode of America's Hometown Horror. And what a fun episode it is going to be tonight. Oh my god, I cannot wait to talk about this movie. Thanks for tuning in to another episode. My name is Mike. I am the host of America's Hometown Horror. And as I always say, I'm not alone in this endeavor tonight. I'm joined by my two esteemed co-hosts, Andrew and Catherine. Guys, what's the haps? What's going on? Andrew, Kat.
Same old, just...
Anyone have anything interesting to say?
The grind of the days.
Very esteemed. I love when you say that.
The luster still hasn't worn off yet.
Yeah, the esteemed co-host.
Yeah, very much esteemed. Very much esteemed. What's going on, though? How you guys doing?
Good.
What's been happening since the last time we recorded, I should say? Anything interesting? Anyone have anything?
I don't think I have
going on. I mean, not much.
Yeah.
I don't think I've watched anything really of note that I can think of.
It's been a busy summer.
It's been a busy weekend. I feel like we were doing stuff all weekend. Well, we were at the beach all day.
Yeah, that's true.
That was fun.
Celebrating a birthday of one of our friends.
Yep.
Yes.
Very nice day. Very fun day.
Which is actually her birthday's today.
We all managed to not get sunburned while we were on the beach, which is
a
big feat for all of us.
No one got eaten by a shark.
Right.
Which is also
That's
nice.
also a big feat. Yes.
Well, you're on the opposite side. You're like not in shark territory. I mean, I know you're still in the ocean.
I don't know about that. I don't know
Opposite side of what?
Like you're in the inlet. Like you're
That's
not.
where they like to be.
You're on the inside of the flexed arm of the cape, not on the outside.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
You're not in like Chatham P-Town where it's like a feeding ground for sharks. Like it's a different. Or Plymouth.
I mean, it's the same ocean.
Beach
Some of these sharks
seals,
could swim in and hang out in there.
Right. They could. I mean, they could anywhere.
I don't trust anybody, so I always think there's sharks everywhere.
But when you go to the beach, you're
whether it's on one side of the ocean or not, it's still the ocean.
Their home. You're going into their house, pretty much.
Well,
we
also went to Whitehorse Beach another day over the past week, and there are seals there. Yep. So that means that there's sharks there.
Oh, absolutely.
So, yeah.
They have way more shark sightings than other beaches in Plymouth.
Yeah. A little iffy. Yeah, a little iffy.
Yeah.
When you go to Whitehorse Beach, or when you go to Long Beach now, I drove by Long Beach today doing estimates, and the Great White Shark sign is out. It's out.
Nice.
So it's there. So, there's that.
They're
hey,
there.
Sharks. Sharks in Massachusetts. How about that, folks? So, Andrew, I know you said you haven't really watched anything interesting over the last week. Kat, do you have anything to report?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I have nothing to report.
So I have something that
I'm sorry.
none of us have watched, but something that should be on our radar.
Yes.
And I know I mentioned this to you before we started recording, but so safe to say, Kat, that you and I were a fan of the Channel Zero series that used to be on Sci-Fi. Correct. One of the most underrated horror TV shows of all time.
I loved Channel Zero.
Sci-Fi is usually associated with terrible TV shows, terrible movies like the Sharknado movies. But one of the best things they've ever done is the anthology series called Channel Zero, which you can stream every season of that show now on Shudder.
You should, Andrew.
Highly
Do you
suggest
have
that you do that.
I might not have it anymore because I never. It might be on there still because I don't think I canceled it.
Okay,
If you just
fair
sign up
enough.
for a trial, it just keeps renewing itself. So.
Yeah.
Well, even if you didn't watch any of that, so the creator of that show and the creative director, producer, was a guy named Nick Antosca. He's also the producer on Antlers, the upcoming Guillermo del Toro movie that we've talked about for numerous times. That is finally coming out
Like
in
a
October.
year or so,
Yeah, I know.
at least.
So he has a new series out on Netflix called Brand New Cherry Flavor. And it is a horror series and it is out now. So I would suggest that we all start watching that
Okay.
because it sounds really good.
I'll
Sounds
take
really
you
good.
up on that.
Yeah.
That sounds good.
Cool. So, I mean, that's what I got for watch list stuff. I mean, anybody else got anything else?
No, I really don't. It's been a busy week.
Okay.
It's been a busy summer, I feel like. So I just haven't had
We
time.
all have been really busy. I know we've talked about this on prior episodes, so it's like, we have a lot going on, as does
Everyone does
Everyone.
in the summer. Like every
Most of
summer,
the
everyone's
summer.
just like
Yeah.
go. You
Yeah.
know, like family parties, whatever. Like
Yeah.
it's a lot.
But hey, we're making
Beach
time for
time.
you, the listener, every week to bring you some new content. So I guess a couple of things newsworthy that I came across over the last couple of days. Andrew, I know we talked about this yesterday. This is an important thing for us because you and I are both lovers of cereal.
Love
Milk
cereal.
and
Very-
cereal.
Terrible
milk
song.
and
Terrible
cereal,
song.
Cereal and milk. Cereal and milk.
Who sang that song?
She loves special sauce.
Terrible band, terrible
No,
song.
it's not.
Yeah,
Oh my
terrible,
gosh,
terrible.
no.
G loves special sauce.
G
G
Love
Love
and
and
Special
Special
Sauce.
Sauce.
Terrible,
Who's that?
terrible band, terrible
It's
song.
like a reggae jam band.
Sounds
They're
like
great.
everything I hate. And that song sounds terrible.
Yeah, it's a song about cereal and milk.
It is.
It's terrible.
Cuckoo for Cocoa
Terrible.
Puffs.
Awful. Something that may be of interest to us. So obviously, I have noted in the past my fandom of the Universal Classic Monsters, and obviously, General Mills, the cereal company, has taken advantage of this in the past and come out with their monster cereals. May have heard of Count Chocula, Frankenberry, Boo Berry, all of the above. You may not have heard of some of the other lesser-known cereals that they do, but with that being said, this year is the 50th anniversary of Count Chocula. So they are doing a Monster Mash cereal that is supposedly out now. I haven't seen it anywhere, but it's going to be coming out where it's a mashup of all of those cereals.
Interesting.
Should make
Starring
cereal bars.
Count Chocula, Frankenberry, Boo Berry, Yummy Mummy, and the Fruit Brute, who is a werewolf, all united for a new version of the Monster Mash
Time out.
in a behind-the-music style video. Go ahead.
One of these monsters is called Yummy Mummy.
Yummy Mummy.
Yummy Mummy.
And it's not a MILF.
It's a Yummy Mummy.
It is a mummy.
Never seen
it's
that
a
cereal
mummy.
before. What
Yep.
flavor is that?
No idea.
Yummy Mummy.
Couldn't even tell
And
you.
then Fruit the Brute?
Fruit Brute.
Fruit Brute. I feel like
Fruit
the blend,
Brute is a werewolf.
yeah, but that's a fruity. I feel like the blend of flavors going on in the cereal is going to be all over the place.
I know.
I think make a good cereal bar probably.
So,
Sure, okay, we can do
so,
that.
so Kat is
That can be
famous for
seasonal.
making cereal bars. I feel like this is one that has to be done.
I take credit to your sister for coming up with the Lucky Charms cereal bars because that kind of inspired me to make more cereal bars.
Yeah.
And since then, I've been dabbling in like every single different cereal, making different cereal bars
You know
out
what
of like.
started that whole thing though is they have at like grocery stores and
Rice
convenience
Krispie Treats.
not Rice Krispie treats, but yes, Rice Krispie treats too. But the other, yeah. But also they have like the cereal bars,
Yes, those
Yes.
are a new
which
thing.
is just
yeah.
sweetened condensed milk in between two layers of
That's
cereal,
too
and they're
much
very
almost.
Yeah.
similar.
I mean,
idea.
similar, but no, I don't put sweet.
And how that's a
condensed milk in
breakfast
mine.
item, I don't know. I guess Pop-Tarts are
It's just
considered
cereal.
I was
It's
gonna
just
say-
cereal. Cereal.
With-
so
with
automatically
condensed milk and sugar.
It's a dessert. It's a dessert.
It's cereal
so.
and milk. Cereal and milk.
Get out of here with that shit.
They're
Get out of
magically
here.
delicious.
Get out of here.
You're going to buy a box just for the mantle?
Yeah, exactly. I probably will because the box looks very pretty. But essentially, all of these monsters, so again, Count Chocula, Frankenberry, Boo Berry, Yummy Mummy, and Fruit Brute, all unite for a new movie, new video. It's on YouTube. You can watch it, where it's like a behind-the-music style thing, talking about the new version of the Monster Mash that they record, which they do a new version. It's on Spotify. And the video for Behind the Music features Travis Barker. Must be hurting for work because...
Interesting.
Yeah.
I feel like
That's
he's
a
not hurting
stretch.
for work.
That's a
being
big
funny.
stretch.
I would think so. I mean, he's dating one of the
Maybe
Kardashians
he really
now.
loves cereal.
I mean, as do I. But I mean, Jesus Christ. I mean, I guess if they asked me, obviously, I'm not Travis
you say
Barker.
no?
But like, if I would say yes, of
Yeah,
course.
who's gonna say no
I'm
to
not
that?
Travis Barker.
Yeah, but Travis Barker's just like everybody else. He's
Why
like,
would he say no?
I like Count Chocula.
But he's more
Right.
famous than the
Frankenberry.
average person.
But maybe
it's
he
something
really
he
likes
loves.
cereal.
He's passionate about it. He
Yeah, all
loves
right.
cereal.
Okay, yeah, it was kind of cool. So I would suggest going on YouTube, search for the Monster Mash, Count Chocula, or General Mills cereal, and you'll find it. It's kind of cool, I guess. Anyway, in other news, so a couple of shows that we've talked about in the past. What We Do in the Shadows, before it actually premieres for the 3rd season, has already been renewed for a 4th season.
Nice.
And
yes.
American Horror Stories, the
Okay.
anthology series, has already been renewed for a 2nd season.
Did we finish? We finished that.
We did not finish
We didn't
it.
finish that.
We didn't
Okay,
even
we're
come
still
close.
walking.
We didn't
We're-
even finish the
Sorry,
2nd
not
episode
walking,
yet.
watching.
We haven't even haven't even had time to finish the
I
2nd
know.
episode yet. So, got to do that. Perhaps the most interesting news item that I've come across over the last week relates to something local, and that would be Barrett's Haunted Mansion, which is the most interesting thing that I'm excited to talk about. So, as we've talked about before, we covered Barrett's Haunted Mansion last year, our review. This is their 30th year, okay?
Okay.
They released a teaser video for their 30th season, and it's clear they're going to come up with some sort of a viral marketing campaign, something kind of different
Cool.
about this.
I'm excited.
So basically, they released a teaser video. It had no audio. I think it's going to be tied into what the theme is for this year, the 30th year.
What I want to see.
And sources that we have talked to over the last several months mentioned that we might see greatest hits from over the last 30 years.
Cool.
But this particular teaser was for a company called McTeal Industries, okay, which is a chemical company. So
Interesting.
chemical companies, things might go wrong, might create certain things.
Reactions.
Here was the caption of the video that was on Instagram. Quote, "At McTeal Industries, since we opened in 1992, which happens to coincide with Barrett's Haunted Mansion, their first year opening, chemical safety is our top priority. Our small community of staff constantly work to reinforce our motto, a better tomorrow starts today." That's it.
Do you know what would be really cool? Sorry, this is like totally a side note.
Okay.
If they did, like, instead of the is it blackout night? What is it? Blacked out?
Blackout night is when they do like the lights off
If
night,
they
yeah.
did that, and then if it was tied to some sort of chemical reaction, if they could also spray you with like neon
Mist.
paint, that would be amazing. That'd be
cool.
so.
If anyone
So
sprayed me
weird.
with neon paint, I'd be fucking pissed.
Well, you'd have to go into that knowing that what's
How
going
about
to
just
happen.
neon like
Well,
water?
So no.
Well, the time
for
the time we did the lights
the
off night,
blackout
you have to sign a
tour,
waiver
you
for
sign
all
a,
this.
yes.
Shit on you?
No,
Yeah.
you sign a waiver, and like some guy
Basically
licked,
saying people can
like,
touch you. That's it.
Yes.
Oh, well, that's fine.
Some
Yeah.
guy like licked my cheek with a sponge or something.
Okay,
it was
so
weird.
but
like,
that's different than spraying paint on you.
Okay, and you could have a bag pulled over your head and get dragged through the house.
Like thrown on the ground and
Yeah.
dragged?
Didn't happen to any of us.
No, but Jen
you imagine
was
someone
still
did
in the
that?
house by herself, and we were all outside.
But I know that was fun.
Dude, what a cover for an actual murderer.
It was
Yeah,
You
seriously.
signed a
That's part of
waiver.
You did sign a waiver.
You
Yeah.
signed a waiver, I murdered you.
Yeah, it was awesome though. It was such a good time. But
Yeah.
it would be really cool if they sprayed you with like if it was like a black light paint that you could see. I mean, you'd have to like put on some sort of like protective gear, I guess, before
Yeah,
and
well,
know
they'd
that
never be able to do that.
No, they wouldn't. But
Seems like
it
a
would
lot
be
of
really
work,
cool. That'd
So,
be really cool.
but anyway, so we're kind of having, I mean, just like, inside show talk here, which we were kind of having a brainstorming session before we recorded tonight about some of the things that we want to talk about over the next several months, because you know what, it's mid-August now, and we are creeping up on the fall,
Pumpkin spice
which is our
lattes.
prime time stuff. And we know we want to cover some local New England haunted attractions this fall. And obviously we're going to cover Barrett's again because it's our local haunted attraction. It's one of the best. I think this is a very interesting teaser. I'd be interested to see what they come out with over the next couple of months. But I know we also have a couple of ideas about some other things that we want to talk about in terms of haunted attractions over the next couple of months. So we will reveal those in the coming weeks, I should say.
I'll be interested in seeing how much their cans of soda cost this year. Now that it has been a full year removed from
True.
that.
Well, I hope they just give you a free can of soda so you'll shut the fuck up.
If
about
they
it,
give
to
me
be
a free
honest.
can of soda with my
Yeah, I
name
think
on
so
it,
too.
We'll give them a
Appreciate
10
that.
out of 10 out of 10 ringing endorsement.
I'd give them a ringing endorsement anyways, but I was just $3 for a can. Sorry.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. So yes, needless to say, I am very excited for Barrett's Haunted Mansion this year. I think I am very excited to see it return to the original form, even though I really liked the idea of Screams and Screams, the haunted drive-in.
I wish they kind of kept that, but I mean, I know
I
you
guarantee
can't
you,
with the parking lot.
if they
don't have
had
the
enough space,
yeah.
they would do both, but they don't.
I know.
So they're going to return to their bread
So
and butter,
sad.
which is a haunted house. And it's going to be good. It's going to be great. I betcha. So, that being said, we ready to talk about tonight's movie? Tonight's
Yes.
topic du
So,
jour.
like $3 for a can of beer, I'd be willing to pay that.
Well, nobody ever charges that unless you're in like,
Some
the
some
South.
golf courses, you can get a can of beer for $3.
Right, but no bar you're ever going to is going to give you $3
I'm just saying.
beers.
Right.
You can get a $3 Pabst draft.
Okay, that's
That's
different
correct.
though.
That's different than a can of soda.
Oh my god.
I suppose
I'm
that's
just
true.
saying. Anyways,
Anyways,
I'm just making a
on
point.
to categories.
All right, what are we talking about tonight? You ready? What are we talking about? We're talking about Predator.
oh, Predator.
Tonight's topic du jour.
Yes.
Topic du jour.
And
You
not
guys-
the guy living down the street from you, like Predator.
Who's the guy living down the street from me?
the predator down the
I'm
street.
sure there's
my
one.
God.
There's probably
Don't
one on
say
every
that. That's
street.
terrifying.
The actual movie called Predator.
Nah, that's
Okay.
that one.
All right.
So
All
Kat,
right.
all right. I guess we'll jump right into this, and we'll go into our thoughts before we jump into everything else that we usually do. Catherine, you claimed yesterday, when we picked this as a topic, that you had never seen this movie before, when in fact you have seen it several times.
Well, I watched.
So, with that being said, I will let you talk.
Just so
Upon
you don't
your
forget about watching it.
quote-unquote first viewing of this movie, what'd you think?
I forgot that I watched.
How
Long
did you
story
forget
longer.
that you watched
Because
Predator?
I think I've only watched it like once or twice. I know it's a classic movie, but like I just never. I don't know why. I'm sorry. I never saw.
I just don't know how you would forget seeing this one movie. Like, I understand. I forget a lot of movies that I watch.
I know.
But forgetting that you saw Predator?
I know.
Kind of.
I know.
Seeing a bunch
Well,
of guys on steroids being
I'm-
chased around by a dreadlocked alien through
I
the
know.
South American jungle? How can you forget that?
I didn't mean to forget it.
You just weren't paying
I just
attention
was
when you were-
saying
Okay,
I
all right,
wasn't
fair
paying
enough, fair
attention.
enough.
I can picture you. When
Go
did
ahead.
you last see it?
Today?
No, other than today. I'm curious. What time?
Years ago.
So you could have been in college doing homework.
No,
while
I
it
was
on.
definitely with Mike because Mike
No, it's
told
definitely
me
with
to.
me.
Oh,
Yeah.
you,
Mike
you would
told me
never
to
even have
watch
known that this
Predator.
movie existed,
And
probably.
no, I knew it existed. Like,
Did
obviously,
you? You don't even remember
I-
watching it, so did you know it
No,
existed?
I do. I do. Obviously, I knew it existed. I like this movie. So my overall thoughts. Let's focus back
Go ahead,
on
yeah.
the question at hand.
I thought we were just going to make fun of you for 20 minutes.
I like this movie because it's like instant action. There's a great balance of like a little bit of old school humor, like fear and violence, like all in one. And I think that that's like such a nice combination for this movie that makes it like enjoyable to watch. In a weird way, as a horror movie, it's still, like, fun to watch.
Well,
or even people that don't like horror movies.
I would even say, to interject here before I go back to you, it's arguably a horror movie. I think it is, but it's an action movie fused with science fiction and horror.
It is.
So,
it's like Platoon meets Alien.
Pretty much. That's great description.
Yeah.
Sorry. Go ahead.
No, that was my thought. That was my thought, was that it's a great balance between everything. I liked it. The second time that I watched it, which was today, and I thought that it's a great movie. I can understand why it's a classic. It falls within the realms of, like, the whole monster genre, if I may. And I would watch it a million more times over.
There's a reason.
I mean, it's good. It's a great movie.
There's a reason I drafted the Predator as one of our movie monsters in the fantasy draft, which I recently discovered
Did you, or
one
did
of our
I?
most
Why did I
our
think
least downloaded episodes of all time.
Wait,
So,
why did I think that I drafted Predator?
you didn't,
I
because you
didn't?
didn't even know who it was
Well,
until
I knew
today.
who it. Okay, fair.
Hmm.
All right.
When would you have done this?
What?
You barely watched it today at work.
I have a feeling I thought that I
having a
drafted
feeling-
Predator. Are you
didn't.
sure?
You definitely
No,
didn't.
Mike,
You didn't.
I thought I drafted Predator. I think I was going to, and then I did one of my Andrew moves in our drafts where I go completely
I'll tell you
off
what,
board.
Andrew, while you give your thoughts on Predator, I will go back and look through our draft. You tell me.
I know I had fucking... Okay, thoughts on Predator?
Yep.
Yes. What are your thoughts on Predator, Andrew?
What's not to like
How
about
much
this
time
movie?
you got, pal?
Huh?
I was saying, like, if someone asked me that, I'd say, how much time you got?
Oh, I get it.
Mm-hmm.
I get. Movie's phenomenal. It's such a... It could be a really bad movie. Like,
Right.
this movie could have been so bad. It had all the potential to be one of the worst movies you've
Like
ever
Tropic
watched.
Thunder, kind of?
Excuse me. I'm not going to talk badly about Tropic Thunder. Movie's awesome. Had no intentions of even being this type of movie, so we'll forget that entire. No, it had the potential to just be a corny, cheesy, like sci-fi horror movie. How many movies of those has there
Right.
been?
Sure.
But they got such the good blend of actors. Just strange dialogue throughout the movie. I'll call it strange, offensive, decent, fitting. Very fitting dialogue for this style of movie. More fitting than anything, because you need the right dialogue in this movie for it to work. And
Right.
this movie has the correct dialogue. It works for this movie. Maybe offensive, it may be off the cuff, but it's perfect for the movie. Great monster.
I don't even think most of it is offensive. I think it's the
There's a couple-
the epitome of, like, a few lines. It's the epitome of 80s action
Right.
Yeah,
movies.
it's what it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
So that's perfect. They nailed the action movie part of it, which is great.
Oh, yeah.
So where it could have gone off the rails and been corny is when the horror element with the monster comes into it. But they did such a good job. The music just built up tension throughout the movie. Like, I feel like, having already seen this movie, I know that the Predator's coming at some point. So I'd love to remember what I first thought when I watched the movie, but I always had a preconceived notion of what the movie was. If this movie went in blind, it probably would have been better off served if the people went into this thinking it's just some war movie, and in
Right.
turn it turns into this. They would have been shocked, like that twist. But if you give away the twist, it's not going to be as good.
Right.
But it's still really good because it's got great actors, great monster, great deaths, sci-fi level aliens,
Violence, gore.
giant muscles.
Oh, my God.
Like, I don't want to sound
Well,
whatever,
in the first,
but
like, 2 seconds,
bursting
they're
with
arm
muscles.
wrestling.
Like, I don't know what's bigger, their muscles or their guns.
The first note that I had for my thoughts of this was, holy shit, I have never felt so out of shape watching a movie in my
Right?
entire life. Everybody in this movie
You got Arnold, a
is
pro wrestler. You have Creed
Carl
from-
Weathers,
yeah.
Jesse the Body Ventura. Like, everybody in this movie is absolutely
Even the nerds with the
yoked.
glasses is
Oh.
yoked.
You feel like they're, like, nobody feels out of place
No.
in this as a special ops commando force.
They're all glistening in sweat with giant muscles.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, agreed.
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
I mean, I think there's nothing wrong with that, but
Yeah, I mean, how could you not like this movie?
Right.
I agree.
Agreed.
Anything else?
I mean, I have more, but I'll get into it.
Okay.
As we go.
I mean, I absolutely love this movie, and the first note that I had was what I just said, was like, I've never felt more out of shape watching a movie than I have in this one. Jesus Christ, never felt more scrawny or out of shape. But in all honesty, I do absolutely love Predator. It's one of my all-time favorites, even though it is a cheesy, corny movie in most aspects. I feel like it's, I have a nostalgic tie to it because it's a movie that was introduced to me by my dad, which, like I mentioned in our Jaws episode, was probably way too young of an age. I was both horrified and
How old were
intrigued.
you?
Probably 7 or 8.
Oh, wow. Watching Predator?
Yeah. Well, it's one of those movies, too, that's like, I feel like Predator, like a bunch of other movies, is always on TV. And they call, like, when you are watching a movie on TV and you can't turn it off, they call that getting Shawshanked. Because of Shawshank Redemption, which is also a great movie.
And you're just like, wow, I wasted 3.5 hours of my
So,
life.
yeah, absolutely. Like, I feel like
Commercials and
when Predator is on, I can never, ever turn it off.
That's
ever.
like Twister for me.
Yeah, Twister's one of those movies for me. The Mummy,
Jurassic Park.
the Brendan Fraser Mummy is one of those movies for me. Jurassic Park's
Jurassic
another
Park.
one.
Mrs.
Yep.
Doubtfire.
Mrs. Doubtfire is another one. Movies from the 80s and 90s that I feel like just you have to watch them whenever they're on, right?
Absolutely.
But it's a great movie, and I think the most interesting thing about this, and the reason this movie is so iconic, it is essentially a slasher movie where instead of babysitters, it's jacked up, roided out commando guys.
Yeah, pretty much.
Which is an incredibly interesting angle to take, okay? Right? I mean, isn't that essentially what this movie is?
I mean,
there's not an ounce of fat on this movie. You immediately, from the jump,
you are
Nothing
introduced
that needs to be cut.
to Dutch and his crew. You get a little bit of dialogue, and then you are in the jungle with these people. It is go, 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 go the entire time,
yeah.
which that's great. It's fantastic. Arguably, if not one of the most iconic movie monsters of all time. The score is iconic. The music in this is fantastic. Fantastic. Iconic score.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, I just think it's a fantastic movie. I mean, I don't really know what else to say beyond that. I don't think it's necessarily the type of movie like The Babadook we talked about a couple of weeks ago that requires any sort of deep analysis, even though I do think that there is some deeper meaning here about what this movie's about. But I mean, it's just a great movie. It's a fucking awesome movie. It's Predator. It's Arnold Schwarzenegger in the 80s. It's a monster fighting Arnold Schwarzenegger, and it's fantastic.
Looking at him now, you're just like, oh my god, you're so young.
Yeah.
He
looks like a baby in this.
Yeah,
but he's probably, 28?
I mean,
How
I don't
old
even
he is?
know.
What year did this movie come out?
87.
87.
So
which is a perfect
That's
segue.
34 years.
Into
Horror
movies from
That's
19.
I was gonna say,
34 years ago. Don't tell me how I know that.
Any final... oh wow. Any final thoughts on the legacy of this movie, or any overall thoughts before we jump into the next category?
Well, the legacy lives on.
Legacy lives on, for sure. We'll get into that. So, we just mentioned it came out in 1987. Want to hear about some other 1987 horror movies? Okay.
Yes.
Figured we did.
Okay, let's go.
So,
Always.
lady and gentlemen, we've done one other horror movie from 1987, and I ask if you might know what it might be.
Ooh. Phantasm?
Nope. It's not Phantasm.
That was like
And
79.
you're not going to look and guess
was
this
it?
one. Because Kat always cheats and looks at my screen.
Oh, that's not true.
That is 100% true. You always look and cheat. You should know this.
I can't remember because we've done so many things. We've talked about so many different movies, and I can never
know.
remember what movies.
So we've kind of done 1.5 movies from this year.
1.5?
That's correct. That's what I said. All right. The movie we've done from this year was Hellraiser.
Oh, duh.
And we also did an episode on Creepshow where we talked about portions of Creepshow 2. So there's the half. So basically, in 1987, it was actually I was surprised, pretty decent year for horror. So we mentioned Creepshow 2. Also, Evil Dead 2 was released in 1987, which is essentially a remake of Evil Dead, a better version of Evil Dead. Hellraiser, as I mentioned. Jaws, The Revenge, terrible sequel. Lots of terrible sequels in this year as well. The Lost Boys, good movie. Very good movie.
I remember having that on DVD, and I don't think I ever watched it, because I think it was, like, free with an extra DVD. You know that whole thing where
You've
it was
never
like...
seen The Lost Boys?
I don't think so.
It doesn't
I
matter
think
if it was
I have
a
it,
free
like,
with an extra
literally-
DVD. Why didn't you watch it? What's the point of getting a free movie?
I
if you
think
don't
I
watch
bought,
it?
like, Saw, and it came with, like, The Lost Boys or something. You remember, like...
You
like
never
DVDs?
watched The Lost Boys?
I
Where,
guess not. I
where
don't
on
know.
earth did you purchase the movie Saw and it came with a free copy
don't
of
know.
The Lost
Like,
Boys?
Walmart?
Doesn't seem like it makes much. Like, just here's
Like,
this.
I don't
Then, like, they
know.
just stapled
Came with,
it
like, an
together.
extra
Like,
DVD.
you know what? No one's buying this movie.
You've never had that? Like, it was just a free
Usually,
movie.
no, I have, but usually they're like related in
I
some
don't
way.
know.
Well,
Right?
I don't know.
okay. You know what else came out in 1987 that's an awesome movie? The Monster Squad. Great flick.
I haven't seen that.
Great flick. A Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Dream Warriors, which actually, despite the terrible title, is a pretty good Nightmare on Elm Street sequel if you've never seen it. Also, just realized we've never covered a Nightmare on Elm Street in this show.
No.
Should probably do that.
We should.
Should probably do that. Prince of Darkness, which is a John Carpenter movie.
Prince of Darkness.
Another one with Donald Pleasance.
Isn't that a follow-up?
So John Carpenter directed his what he called his Apocalypse trilogy, which started with The Thing, and
Yes.
also had Prince of Darkness and one other movie that I can't remember right now, and everyone's going to yell at me in the comments about this. I forget what else.
That's okay. Come back to
Also
that.
had a Return to Salem's Lot. And Andrew, The Stepfather.
Next Father's Day, we're doing that movie.
Okay.
Put that on.
Good
the list.
idea. You know what? Put that in your calendar right now.
June. Father's Day weekend.
All right. Cool. So that's what we had come out in 1987.
If we're gonna re-listen and use this for stuff too, we could also do the segment from Creepshow, Father's Day.
We could do that. That would be a good way to do that. Father's Day. I mean, yeah, that's actually a good point because I feel like there's not very much for Father's Day. But anyway, so want to hear some quick facts
Oh, yeah.
about
Sure. Let's
Predator
go for quick
before we
facts.
move into our categories and other things. So Predator was directed by John McTiernan. So does that name, ring a bell for you, either of
No.
you, for anything else?
Sounds like an Irish dude.
It does, yeah.
It is. And Smitty would be punching you both right now. So John
Why?
John McTiernan directed Die Hard, The Hunt for Red October, Last Action Hero, Die Hard with a Vengeance, and also the Thomas Crown. So the budget for Predator was approximately $15 million.
Wow.
1987
In
dollars.
1987? That's crazy
And
money.
it went on to gross over $98 million worldwide. So safe to say it did very well. That's a lot of
Considering
return
it
on
was
investment.
called a sucky movie.
Yeah, and obviously, it was not a critical darling, but it's since gone on to become one of the most iconic
Yeah, because
action,
who
sci-fi,
look at-
action,
who
horror
likes it
movies
are
of all
the-
time.
The fans, the audience,
people
likes
that like
it.
movies,
not the
that
people
like
that
good
write about
movies.
movies and crap on them.
Yeah.
Right.
I could give two fucks what critics think about.
So
99% of movies.
while we're on this is a very good thing to talk about here, right? So you have to think about before the internet in the 80s and the 90s.
Right.
Okay,
That's all you had to go on.
who were the people writing about movies?
Siskel and Ebert.
Old, white
Right.
men.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
who's writing about movies now on the internet?
Everyone.
Everybody.
I was gonna say.
Everybody. Okay? This movie would have been a masterpiece if it came out in 2021 or 2015 or 2010. I think it's just something to think about, right?
That is a good thought. Yeah.
Like, you have to think about, so a lot of the movies that have come out. So, think about all the horror movies in the 80s that got horrible reviews. So, I think about this movie and The Thing. Both two movies that are considered iconic horror classics, okay? That were critically panned at the time, and now they're considered to be great because you know what? Not everybody that's reviewing them now are stuffy old white fucks.
Yeah, that makes me think of Phantasm too, because how many? So no. How many movies are there now? Eight phantasms?
There's 8 phantasms?
There's a fucking lot of them.
Why?
Andrew, the first one's
Why?
good. The couple of sequels.
Oh, no. I'm not
Are you trying to say
I'm
all
not
8?
saying
all
the
8
sequels are good. I'm just saying a movie that didn't get very good ratings has 8 sequels.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Gotta have
insane.
something going for you if you're gonna make that many movies. Otherwise, what are you doing?
You know what it is? Money. If they make money,
Obviously,
they get
it's
sequels.
money. That's what I'm saying.
Right.
But-
But I'm just saying in terms of critical success, right? So like,
Well, we got no
like
critical success.
just again something to think about in the scale of like who was reviewing movies in the 80s
Sure.
versus who was reviewing movies
Now. Right.
Okay.
Yep.
Right?
Different audience. Totally different audience.
Fair to say.
Yep.
Okay. So, obviously this movie, like I said, it made a lot of money. It's become a classic, not even a cult classic, a classic. When you think of Arnold, off the cuff here. When you think of Arnold Schwarzenegger movies, well, you hadn't even heard of this movie until yesterday.
No,
Andrew,
that is
when you think about Arnold Schwarzenegger movies, what movies do you think about?
So, for me, it goes Terminator,
T2,
Total Recall,
Predator, Total Recall,
then Predator.
Kindergarten Cop.
That's up there. But yeah, it's in the top 3.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you immediately go Arnold Schwarzenegger, I'm either going to think of Terminator, Total Recall.
Eraser. That's a good movie.
I'm not going to think of Eraser. That movie's terrible.
You don't like Eraser? I like Eraser. Go ahead.
mean...
What, Jingle All the Way?
Was he in True Lies?
He was in True Lies.
That's a pretty good movie.
True Lies was filmed at my alma mater,
No shit.
Salve Regina University in Newport, Rhode Island.
There you go.
How about that?
Solid movie.
Right. But I guess what I'm trying to say is Predator is up there,
It's
right?
in the top-
It's arguably top 3 famous Arnold
Top
Schwarzenegger
3,
movies.
easily. You could make
Maybe
an
the
argument
top
1.
one.
You can make it 1.
Yeah.
We'll talk about this because, as I mentioned,
Conan the Barbarian.
I have. Oh, that's a good one too. I have some updates to our categories this week, guys. So if you're a constant listener of our show, might be a few wrinkles this week. I'm excited to talk about them. But
Wrinkles.
if you had to think of one Arnold line,
Twins?
no.
No, that's a great movie.
What's the most famous Arnold Schwarzenegger movie line?
I'll be back, or
That one.
Get back
Actually,
to the
probably
chopper.
better.
get to the chopper.
Get to the. Not even get back to the chopper. But
I
get to
think
the
it-
chopper.
I think it's I'll be back though. Is probably.
I think I'll be back.
It's probably
is-
better. Probably better. Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. So I guess.
Well, what's the one from Total Recall when he rips fucking?
Yeah, that's a good one too. But I feel like I'll be back, and get to the chopper are the two most famous.
I'll be
I would
back.
say. And I'm sure if Smitty ever listens to us, she'll correct us because she has Arnold Schwarzenegger on the back of her phone. So, I guess my point is, this movie was
It's not a Tuma?
hugely famous. It's not a
That
Tuma.
could be
Oh, that's
top-
a good one too,
That's
actually.
top 5.
This movie spawned several sequel movies,
yeah.
including Predator 2, which came out in 1990, and then, long time, 20 years between sequels, Predators 2010, which, Andrew, you and I share a love of this movie. It's a very good movie. The one with Adrian Brody, Topher Grace,
That movie's awesome.
Danny Trejo,
They do a really
Lawrence
good job. That
Fishburne.
movie's so much
I
different, but
love,
it's so good.
I love that movie.
The concept of the movie's great, and the acting's great. Everything about that movie's awesome.
Yeah.
Don't sleep on Predator 2, though, either. Danny Glover.
Oh, that's a very good one, which contains a very important thing that I will get to very shortly, and I know you know what I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah.
And the most recent sequel was The Predator, which came out in 2018. Again, a very good cast. Was kind of critically panned, and I did not think it was bad. I saw it. I actually really liked it. The Predator stuff in it is very cool. It actually kind of picks up the story directly where Predators left off,
Okay.
but this time it's on Earth. Check it out. Dude, we're on Predator. Watch it tomorrow night.
Yeah, might as well.
If you haven't
Keep
done
up,
it, right?
keep up with it.
There's also a forthcoming sequel to that movie, which is called Skull. That's supposedly coming out either this year or more probably next year. So 2022.
Let's not forget about Alien v Predator.
Took the words right out of my mouth.
Because that movie's awesome.
Let's talk about this, Andrew, since you stepped on my thing.
I thought we were going just
Toes?
right
Nope,
over
it's
that.
okay.
I was like, wait a minute.
Stepped on my point toes, whatever. It doesn't matter.
Point.
So,
toes.
there was a small Easter egg in Predator number 2, which, again, starred Danny Glover. Angels in the Outfield. Saw, flapping.
I believe.
We're at the end of Predator 2. They're in the Predator ship, and there is a xenomorph skull. And that is all. You never knew that?
Never knew that. Never know.
That's all it took to launch the Alien versus Predator universe.
Wow.
So
What a
basically,
good idea.
Alien and Predator were both owned by 20th Century Fox. they put that in there to kind of connect the universes. It led to comics, novels, obviously movies. There have been 2. Alien vs. Predator in 2004.
That might be the most important thing about Predator 2, then.
Yeah, I think so.
Without that...
Also, Alien vs. Predator, Requiem, which came out in 2007. I, honestly, give me everything with these 2 movie monsters.
I mean, you put those 2 together, they're the best.
It's great. So, I don't know. What I mean to say as I wax poetically about this movie monster and this movie, it led to a lot of different things. Okay? It led to a lot of different things. It's an important movie in movie history, which I feel like a lot of the movies we talk about are stupid, but in the grand scheme of things, this is one of the big ones.
Could you imagine if they made a ride that was Alien versus Predator, and you were, like, caught in it, like...
More on that.
Is that a ride thing?
Later.
Oh.
Not a ride. Perhaps a haunted house.
Oh, well, that, too.
Okay.
Would be
So here's an interesting one, okay? So basically, you guys seen Rocky 4, right?
Yes.
Rocky 4.
Yeah.
I think my favorite Rocky
But
movie.
that's fine.
The one where he fights the Russian. Come on, Catherine. Jesus
I'm sorry.
Christ.
I'm
What
so
are we doing?
sorry. I don't know. Keep
So
going.
after the release of Rocky 4 in 1985, there was a joke that was made amongst studio executives that said Rocky has kind of run out of earthly opponents to fight. And if there were to be a Rocky 5, he'd have to fight somebody from outer space, an alien, maybe even E.T. Turns out there were 2 people in that room that took that idea and ran with it. Their names were Jim and John Thomas. Okay, 2 brothers, screenwriters,
Jim John.
aspiring Hollywood screenwriters. So they wrote the screenplay for Predator, and they called it Hunter. That was the working title of the movie before it went into production. Okay. They basically, when this movie got greenlit, it was filmed on location in the Mexican jungle. So they're not on green screens.
No,
they're in Mexico.
That's, you can tell that.
Yeah, which this provided, obviously, a number of problems for people.
I would
So,
imagine.
Catherine, you and I have been to Mexico a number of times. In Cancun, on the beach, at a resort. They were in the Mexican jungle.
That's
Like,
crazy.
in
to
the
think.
fucking middle of it. So here are some of the problems that they ran into when they were filming this movie. Not talking about it, we're talking about it.
Nice.
Leeches.
Oh, yeah.
Gross. Snakes.
Scorpions?
Yeah.
Scorpions. Stifling humidity and heat.
Of course.
And obviously rough terrain. All of the night scenes, which are featured at the end of the movie, which we'll get into, were featuring Arnold fighting the predator creature. They were all filmed, which I never knew this. I never knew this was even a possibility. They were filmed during freezing cold temperatures. I didn't realize that the Mexican jungle can get that way.
I didn't think they
Apparently
could
at night
either.
it can just drop because
To freeze.
So what is it, like
30?
the desert?
maybe because
But
you're
that's bizarre.
maybe because you're in the
Freezing.
rainforest.
32
Wait,
degrees is freezing.
Yeah, 32. It drops to 32.
So I'm
degrees.
pulling these off IMDb. That was a direct quote from them.
From
freezing
freezing
temperatures.
temperatures?
And apparently the times when he actually had to go into the water and then cake himself with mud.
He
I
looked
mean,
cold as fuck.
You could.
You
I
can
mean,
see that in that
you
whole
can
scene.
imagine in a rainforest.
Is
that
it also is there any stunt doubles in this, or is that just Arnold jumping off?
I'm sure Arnold does most of his stunts, but I didn't see anything about that. So here's the direct quote from IMDb, Internet Movie Database, okay? All of the night scenes were filmed during freezing cold temperature, which was especially hard on Arnold Schwarzenegger during the latter half of the film, when the mud he had to wear, which was actually pottery clay, became cold and wet. But when I was reading through it, it said freezing temperatures.
Because
Maybe because it's in the rainforest, there's
was
there's
gonna
not a lot of
say-
sun. Maybe the temperature drops. I have no idea.
When
I
you're-
thought it was weird too, but I'm
Well,
just telling you.
it keeps
that's
in the
what it said.
moisture,
There's
so
there's
I
all
don't
the
know.
different levels.
Somebody
of the
look it
rain.
up. Somebody
There's-
look it up.
No, I know that's fine, but like
I'm not lying. So
I believe
don't-
you.
I didn't say you're lying, but I'm just saying that there's different levels in the rainforest. So like I can understand that like the bed, like the very bottom of the rainforest would be cold because
Well, you also got to think about it. What lives at the very bottom of the rainforest?
Right.
Millipedes, centipedes, all those like
Disgusting
lobster,
insects.
bug-like things that live at the
Lobster
deepest.
bug-like
No, they live at the
things.
deepest
Deepest.
depths of the ocean,
Right.
which is where it's probably the coldest. As do these disgusting bugs that live on the wet tropic floor. That's probably
Right.
cold in temperature, and that's why they get that way.
Yeah.
So maybe
So, I
there's
mean,
something
I
to
guess
that.
maybe
I don't
it
know.
is
I don't.
colder
I've never
than-
been.
I'm
into
telling
the
you, look it up.
rainforest.
We'll look it up afterwards, but you know. All right, so let's talk about the creature design for the Predator. As we talked about, iconic movie monster, right? I mean,
Yes.
great design. Do you guys have any problems with the design of this creature?
Okay, my nitpick is the whole thing where he has like a helmet face shield and then he takes it off. Like,
Well,
I
again,
get the protection thing because
think-
he's
think
technically
he's an-
fighting
he's
everyone
an
else. That's
alien
fine, he's an alien
invader.
Yeah.
in a space suit. Think, right?
He, to me, looks like a Lovecraftian alien.
I think so.
With the tentacles coming down his face
His
kind of
hands
thing.
were weird. I don't
So,
know.
like,
Like,
he's a weird-looking fucking dude.
He's very weird looking. But you have the metal face mask, that's a spacesuit.
right.
Right?
It's
If
just
they
a
show
metal
him coming
face
in
mask.
on a spaceship at the beginning, the very, very,
Right.
very
Could be
beginning of the
Boba
movie,
Fett.
Right.
Yeah, that's a great
I
comparison.
call Otis
You look at Boba Fett and you go,
Boba Fett.
you go, what's underneath? And you go,
At
oh,
the spooky hound dog.
Dude, there's a guy underneath that.
Yeah.
Right.
Same thing. There's no difference.
I mean, overall, his design is interesting because it's different than a lot of other monsters. I would say by far.
Ever seen anything like that before? Ever?
No,
It's so good.
That's what I mean. It's just it's so different.
So creepy. I feel like he felt a bond with the scorpion when he
because
was
you almost
killed.
like human in a
Because he was
sense.
like, that's...
That-
There was a
what
reason the
makes it-
scorpion was in that scene, I think. I think so.
Well, it's kind of like a...
Designed to look like almost like an insect almost.
Yeah, they're insects. So isn't the xenomorph
Yeah.
is essentially a scorpion.
They're or like a something like
Something
that. Yeah.
scary.
But he has like the
They're a
body of a
but they're-
human.
Well, they have the
They're-
scorpion
Like-
tail. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
It's
Yep.
bugs are used to getting stomped on by us on Earth, and now what if a bug comes down and fucking
What if there were
stomps on
8
us?
foot?
Right.
What if there were 8-foot bugs?
Yeah, like I was telling you guys about the tardigrade. I don't know if you looked that up.
No, I
The
didn't.
bears. We were talking about the beach bears the other day.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, we know
Bears.
that.
Uh,
Yeah.
water,
right.
water bears.
Water bears.
Water bears. Well, she was talking about
I
beach
call them
bears.
beach
You brought
bears.
them.
Ah, yes.
But that's
So anyway, so we were talking about the design for the Predator creature. Okay, it was designed by Stan Winston, who is arguably one of the most famous creature designers in the history of film. Worked on Aliens, Jurassic Park, Terminator 2, War of the Worlds, the Spielberg one, all kinds of movies, a ton of them. All the Indiana Jones movies, all that type of stuff, Stan Winston designed. He was one of the people featured in the movies that made us Jurassic Park episode, because he did
Oh,
the
okay.
T-Rex.
Yeah, and
Yep.
he was the claymation guy,
Yeah.
right?
So
No.
basically, a couple of interesting points here. So when, obviously, you look at the Predator, it's a very different looking design, okay? One of the things that he was inspired by was a painting of a Rastafarian warrior in a producer's office that it was sitting in. Think of Rastafarian, excuse me. Dreadlocks. Predator has some dreadlocks type of things going
fair.
on, right?
Yeah.
Also, so when the Predator takes his mask off at the end of the movie, you see his face. And that's arguably the scariest point of the movie, right? Because you see what it actually looks like, and it's a terrifying design.
Yeah.
The mandibles, which are the parts
Yeah.
that open up like that. Stan Winston was on a plane with James Cameron, and he was sketching out designs for the Predator, and James Cameron said to him, "You should put some mandibles on that creature. That would make it much creepier." So that was James Cameron's
Interesting.
idea. James Cameron of Titanic, Avatar,
Mandibles,
Aliens,
mandibles are
Sphere.
terrifying. You look at an ant's face.
Oh my God, terrible.
Oh.
Terrible.
Yeah, keep them mandibles away from me. I don't like bugs.
While we're on the Predator, so the Predator's blood is a very big part of this movie, right? It's neon green, it glows, it sees it everywhere. So here's how they made it. Mixture of liquid from the inside of glow sticks and KY jelly.
Oh my god.
That
that's-
makes sense.
So lube and glow sticks. Sounds like a fucking rave in Las
Well,
Vegas.
when what's his name breaks apart that piece of the tree and starts drinking from it, that
Yeah.
looks like he's drinking lube.
I know. Oh, Billy.
Yeah, it's like
Oh,
thick water.
I know.
More on Billy later. More on Billy later.
I was like, what is he doing? He's drinking out of this like bamboo.
Well, it
stick.
holds
I was
water.
like,
You're
I
thirsty.
know. I was like, okay.
You can't
at
go
least
and
getting
buy a
water.
fucking.
I would
water
trust
on the
that
street.
guy with anything because they're all hardened battle veterans that know how to survive the
Oh,
jungle,
yeah. No,
clearly. So
absolutely.
he knows what he's doing.
If they
More
were
on Billy later
If
because
they were on Naked and Afraid, they'd
oh my
go
God,
to the
they'd
end.
kill it. They would absolutely kill it. They'd probably kill everybody on the show too. Because
Yeah, oh,
they're
absolutely.
all animals. I have more to say about the design of the Predator and who played him, but I'm going to leave that for our cast alternatives, replacements, facts category, which is coming up.
Believe it or not, I have one.
A fact? or
a cast replacement.
Okay, fair enough.
If that is even a thing in this.
But while we're on the Predator, so the costume for the Predator weighed over 200 pounds.
Wow.
The guy that
Jesus.
wore it, his name was Kevin Peter Hall. He was 7 feet 2 inches tall.
Holy
So that's who Arnold was facing up against in this.
Wow.
That's the interesting thing. Do you ever really see them
7
head to head, like face up, where you can see how tall he is?
Well,
7 feet 2 inches
7'2".
tall.
7'2". So I think they kind of made them look a little bit more on the same height, probably at
They had to- it's a
Schwarzenegger's
camera
insistence,
angle.
right?
Yeah.
But that guy that played him was 7 foot 2
Because I
inches.
feel like the Predator's scarier because it looks like the size of a regular human being. Like if he was 7 foot 2, you'd be like, damn.
So obviously, if you're 7'2", you're a strong guy, you're tall, but the costume was so heavy, he essentially had to be on a bungee rig when he was in his scenes to make it look like he was moving a little bit more naturally.
Wow.
Kevin,
Yeah, because you imagine like
Yeah.
moving that around.
Yeah.
Kevin Peter Hall is the name of the actor who was 7 foot 2 inches tall.
Why did they have to make the suit like that?
I don't know. You tell me.
It
Costume
didn't look like it
design.
needed to weigh that much.
Yeah.
The Predator, by the way, the alien himself, only has 8 minutes of screen time.
Really? Through
8
the
minutes.
whole movie?
A lot more in Alien
Well,
versus
because
Predator.
hold on, because he's like
Well,
invisible most of the movie too.
I think they counted the invisible stuff.
They did.
Mm-hmm. Because, again, perfect example of seeing less
Right.
is more.
Yeah.
You don't want
the best horror in that
you don't
movie
like
was
the Jaws. The
was
Jaws
the
effect.
dialogue was the interaction between everybody else.
The
while they
action,
were
the characters.
worried about what was going on. You were
Right.
so
Yeah.
caught up in that you don't need to see it. You know what it can do. You've seen what it can do.
Right.
It's very true.
Final fact I have before we move on to our next section of the podcast.
Yes.
So, you guys have heard of the show MythBusters, right?
Yes,
On
of
Discovery.
course.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
So in 2003, they actually tried to debunk this movie, and
Predator. They tried
Predator.
to debunk Predator.
They proved that covering yourself entirely in mud doesn't, in fact, conceal your body heat, because after only a short amount of time, the mud on your skin becomes warmer due to your body heat. So they actually tested out things from Predator
They would.
in an episode of MythBusters.
It's kind of funny though.
Yeah.
That they did that.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
Pretty cool. All right, so normally, if a movie warrants it, we talk sometimes about what this movie might actually mean. And it seems for sure like Predator might not have any deeper meaning, and I don't think it does. I think it's just a straightforward action movie with some sci-fi and horror elements, but I do think this movie is very much a symbol for the Vietnam War. Anybody have any thoughts on that? Agree, disagree?
I mean, it definitely had tones of some sort of war. It didn't necessarily mean Vietnam for me. I mean, I guess in a sense, they also mentioned. You remember when you were in Afghanistan too, like while they were in there. So I mean, it's
Isn't
kind
that
of just
horrifically topical.
I know, isn't it?
Anyway.
It's just kind of. I feel like a generic. I think they're trying to go generic with this and
Well-
not focus on
Well,
one.
the way I look at it
Think
is
about
war.
what was Vietnam warfare? In the jungle against an enemy that you generally cannot see, with mostly American commandos that are trained to kill, getting killed by an unseen force.
Right.
I think that's about as deep as it goes in terms of the Vietnam comparison, right? Because it was a war that was fought very much like that.
So I feel like it's either one of two things. If you're making a war movie, it's either about World War II or it's about Vietnam.
yeah.
So
it's never about World War One. Sometimes about Afghanistan or Iraq or the Gulf War, something like that. But mostly, most war movies, I agree with you, are
there's that
Vietnam
one movie,
or World War
There's
II.
that one movie called 1914 or whatever it is.
Oh, I actually didn't
I
see
didn't
that.
see that
Did
either.
you?
No,
Okay.
I haven't seen that one. There's a few, but they're not the main. It's either World War II or Vietnam. That's like I feel like where they mainly go with movies.
It's
So that's probably what they did.
1941, maybe it's called. Either 14 or 41. That's the one where it's meant to look like it's one single take the entire movie.
I have no idea because I've never seen it.
I've heard
Is
it's
what
like
supposed
that.
to be?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
'Cause
But it's actually not.
Dunkirk
but
was World War II, right?
Dunkirk was World War II, yes.
Clearly, most of them are.
Yeah.
Wish I could think of a few more, but there's a bunch.
Yeah. So I don't know. That was just the vibe that I got because
it was
they're obviously all Vietnam vets, right?
When the movie comes on, I feel like they're in Vietnam. Like that's what I assume the movie.
Get the helicopters flying in, dropping them off. Like I feel like it's very much made to feel like it's a metaphor for that.
It's like Tropic Thunder.
Yeah, kind of. Actually, kind of. But yeah. Any other thoughts on that before we move on?
No, I completely agree with what you said.
All right. Well, just a reminder that tonight's episode of America's Hometown Horror is brought to you again by HelloFresh. Do you particularly feel like you're stuck in a dinner rut? Well, with HelloFresh, you get pre-measured ingredients with mouth-watering seasonal recipes delivered right to your door. Skip all those trips to the grocery store and count on HelloFresh to make home cooking easy, fun, and affordable. You can now enjoy cooking and get dinner in the table in 30 minutes or less. With over 25 recipes to choose from each week, there is something for everyone to enjoy. All recipes are designed and tested by professional chefs and nutritional experts to ensure deliciousness and simplicity. Click the link in our show notes, that would be the show notes of America's Hometown Horror, to get $80 off, including free shipping on HelloFresh, the #1 meal kit.
HelloFresh.
HelloFresh. Love anyone that sponsors our show, especially HelloFresh. And with that being said, we are moving on to our categories, which, as I told you guys, I might have said this in the podcast.
A little bit of a change up.
Hey, a little bit of change up tonight. So some of them are the same, some of them are different. So the first one, though, is the same. It's the cat category. Cat, did you find this movie to be scary? Yay or nay?
No. I didn't find it to be scary. I mean, I wouldn't have nightmares
of
about
all
this.
movies.
I mean, it's a horror movie for sure. I don't find it personally scary.
Is it?
A horror movie?
Yes. A horror movie?
No.
There's a monster that they're killing in the jungle.
I think it's a sci-fi action movie with horror elements.
Yeah, see, I feel like
I
that's the
particularly find it to be a horror movie, but I could understand anyone's point of view that said it's not. I can see that.
It's up to debate.
I can see it. I consider it. I mean, okay.
Do you find it scary?
You say
Mike?
You say egg. I say egg. It's the same thing.
You say,
know?
Okay.
That's a weird comparison. You say potato, tomato,
egg,
tomato,
egg,
tomato.
That person.
Work the whole thing out.
Egg.
What a nerd.
Egg. You call it an egg. I call it an egg. Egg.
Here's what I would say. Okay.
I thought that was pretty fun.
What's the most memorable part of Predator?
Arnold in the mud.
It's
Realizing
not
that he can discover
the Predator monster?
I think seeing the Predator for the first time in like that little like hazy thing is kind of...
That's a monster, and that's a movie monster.
Right.
What types of movies have movie monsters in them?
Horror movies.
Correct.
Do they?
Mic drop, bombshell, boom, boom. What do you think?
Point. I also agree that it's a horrifying situation. You have these muscle-bound maniacs wielding giant weapons, and they are fodder
Useless
for this.
Nice vocabulary.
This creature lurking in the trees, snatching them up by one, however he wants. Not even a challenge. He's reckless. He's one of the most almost like top 5 like hunters of all time. We're gonna talk about hunters.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely. I mean, he's a hunter for sure.
Oh, easily. Well, I kind of love the fact that like this movie starts out, everyone has like these crazy, insane guns, and at the very end, it's just reduced to Arnold in a jungle with a makeshift bow and arrow and a knife.
Because that's what he realized
Pretty
to win.
Dope.
Survival of the fittest.
Yep.
And Arnold's the fittest.
That
as he usually
certainly is.
Right.
Certainly is.
Yeah. He
Andrew.
proved that in the first, 10 seconds of the movie.
Oh, easily. I mean, I we'll talk about that scene.
Okay.
Andrew, did you find this movie to be scary at all? Not obviously now, rewatching it today for the millionth time. When you watch it for the first time, how old were you? Did you find it scary? Were you intrigued? What?
Probably mid-teens when I watched this.
Really? My God. Oh, dude, I saw this movie when I was 8 years old. Insane.
Yeah, I wasn't allowed to watch anything.
I know. All right. Okay.
So
go ahead.
Mid-teens probably, and did I find it scary? It takes a lot to scare me. This would be scary if I was ever going to be in the military. and be in a jungle with a predator, because I don't have to worry about that thing because I don't carry a weapon, so it's not going to hunt me. It's like that book, The Most Dangerous Game.
Mm-hmm.
Man is the most dangerous game, but this is the
most dangerous creature or whatever.
Well, most
dangerous
animal.
Animal. That's what it is. Yes.
Yeah. It's hunting man. Man hunting man. This is similar, except this man looks like a lizard, fucking monster creature thing.
Right.
But is it scary? No, it's fucking silly, adventure-y, horror-y. Like, that's not even horror. It's
See, I'm like, you're in your 30s the first time you saw this. You saw it in your teens.
You saw it when you were...
I saw it when I was young, and I just, I can't understand, I can't fathom the fact that anyone that saw this movie when they were really young didn't think this was scary.
Well, if I was
Sure,
7, I would have been terrified,
right.
too.
Yeah, exactly.
If I was 7, I was scared of the monster that lived under my bed.
Yeah.
I even think, like, to this day, most of the scenes where... like Billy, who's the tracker of the group, and everybody else, and Mac, the other guy, the fact that they're both scared, and they're like the like not the alphas of the group, but the ones that can kind of sense when danger is around. They both are like, yo, something's not right.
Yeah, and they're fucked up.
I love that. That still gives me like goosebumps when I think about that type of stuff, which makes it scary to me.
The acting in that movie is phenomenal.
The characters are great. And that, I feel like, makes the movie. Obviously, the creature design is great.
There's only one guy.
All the actors and the characters,
there's only one actor I have a
fantastic.
problem with in this movie, and it's least likely.
Leave that for nitpicks?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Fair enough. Favorite scene? Who would like to go first? Andrew, I'll start with you.
Favorite scene? That's tough. So many good scenes.
You can talk about any scene you want to. It doesn't have to necessarily be your favorite. Or Kat, you can go first since you have one.
So I actually, the first scene I kind of was drawn to was when you first saw, like, the thermal camera from the Predator, and, like, it's this weird, like, almost Pink Floyd, like, psychedelic kind of weird thing, and, like, and a video game, like, combination, like, the way that they kind of show it is so weird, and then you see, like, his hand, and you're just like, whoa, this is this is like when you first start to like see the monster, and then you're like, wow, that's
arguably one of the most iconic things about the movie is like the Predator seeing the infrared view like through their mask.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
That's up there. I would say of the most memorable things. Yeah. That's up there, 100%.
That's probably my favorite scene.
I feel like they make it work for them. I feel like this is another movie where they like another classic example where you have less and you make more of it because you can't necessarily lean on special effects to tell the story for you. You are telling a story and you see some of these effects,
right,
which aren't necessarily looked back on as inferior, but in the same sense, you're telling a good story, so it doesn't really matter. Because what you're seeing is just enhancing the story that you're watching.
I feel like the special effects aid this movie.
Yeah.
I feel like they're almost perfect for this movie. Like, just blood splat. Like, every time anybody dies, I'm like, oh, yeah. Yep, I like that. Like, it's very cut and dry. You know what just happened. And it's not terrible. It's just... It's probably more realistic. Mm-hmm. Like, someone gets their head blasted off, it's probably just splattered all over your face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, that's terrifying.
Yep. Agreed. Okay. Kat, nice choice.
Thanks.
Andrew, your favorite scene?
So, it's actually when Mac first sees the Predator, and he just starts firing into the jungle, and then he calls everybody else up,
that part.
and they all come up, and they just blow apart the jungle for like 5 minutes, and what's-his-face is still shooting... Is it Ventura?
Mac. It's Mac.
Mac. Yeah, because
Ventura's dead
just died.
This is Mac is still spinning.
And it's still spinning after he shot it for like a solid 10 seconds.
Yeah.
And
longer than that.
Then the trackers go out, fucking Billy, and they look and there's no blood, there's no tracks. And the guy's like, I should have sawn that in half. Like that scene builds
that's a goosebump scene right there. Yeah. That's what I'm talking about, right? Like it's not scary, but it's like. Okay, like, what the fuck's going on here?
Yeah.
Why can't we see any blood? What is happening? what is this green shit on this plant?
But they don't even see that. The girl does.
Yeah.
And they don't even talk. She brings it up later, like, how did you miss that?
Yeah.
That glow-in-the-dark fucking...
Yeah.
It's wild.
I mean, I guess if I had to pick a favorite scene, it's very tough to do. I think there's so many iconic scenes in this. But if I had to pick one, I think the most badass scene in the entire movie is after... what's the name of Carl Weathers' character?
Dylan.
When he gets killed after he gets his arm blown off and he's shooting at the alien with one arm, and then you hear him die and everyone looks back like they hear him screaming in the distance, and Billy, my man Billy, rips off his shirt, he rips off his Native American necklace, wraps around his hand, throws his gun away. Dutch goes, "Billy, no!" And he takes his machete out of his pocket and he slices himself across the chest like, I'm ready to fucking go. And then like 3 seconds later you hear him screaming like, oh, it didn't work out so well for him. But just a badass scene from a badass character in a badass movie. Oh my god.
Extrapolate upon that scene.
Yes.
That's what I feel like is one of the best parts of Predators. Mm-hmm. Is when the samurai guy is out in the field and he just busts out his sword and he's just ready to fucking take it on. And he dies, obviously. Because
of course.
You're not going to beat the Predator, which makes it so good. Like, the fact, like, that whole, like, little sequence you're talking about, Mike, I feel like Carl Weathers, with his arm shooting still on the ground.
Awesome.
In between that.
So awesome.
In between that and then the guy on the bridge, Billy.
Yep.
Waiting for him. That's like a solid, like, maybe 2 minutes, and you're like, two guys just got
two
murked.
Big guys.
He is
two
right
big characters.
Like, he is literally
like, I'm coming.
just there.
Like, I'm
like,
picking
this
you
is
guys
where you're
off.
like, oh, here we go. This is getting going, son.
Yep. Agreed.
Great sequence.
Okay. All right. So that was mine. Did I miss anybody? We good to go on the next category?
No, we're good to go on the next category.
So here's a new one, folks. You guys ready for a new category?
Okay.
Here's one we're going to do from time to time, depending on the movie. There may be movies where it doesn't work. There's going to be a lot of movies where it does.
I have all notes on my category, so I'm not really ready for like a new one. But
okay. This is like easy. This is easy for this movie. Your favorite quote from the movie.
Oh, okay.
There are so many options.
Say my favorite
me
quote.
Me first. You ready?
Don't say it. Please don't stop. Don't say it. Good.
You're saying they were killed by a fucking lizard?
That was your favorite quote?
That was a good quote.
Okay. Well,
why?
Get
to the chopper.
Here's what I'll say. Yeah, get to the chopper.
Yeah. I was like...
Best one, stick around.
Yeah. That's so apparently "Get to the Chopper" is Schwarzenegger's personal favorite catchphrase of all the films he's ever been in before.
I knew that someone was going to say that, so I want to say something different.
But I mean, you're one ugly motherfucker.
Can we talk
best?
What the hell are you?
Can we talk best dialogue sequence?
Okay, go ahead.
Because when Carl Weathers slides down the hill, makes a bunch of noise, and then Mac just comes up right next to him.
Awesome.
And he basically tells him, I can't remember his lines line for line, but make another noise, I'm going to slit your throat and bleed you out and leave you here if you give us away, our position away. And it's just like, that's such a chilling scene.
Great line. Great line.
And
Great line.
Weathers is pissed. And
well, that's because obviously in the beginning, he's like, Schwarzenegger says, like, what do you mean we? And Carl Weathers says, I'm coming with you. And he's like, my team works alone.
Yeah.
And they say, okay, well, we all have orders, Major. That's like the first time you really feel like he's like, yo, you're here. I'm going to fucking kill you if you fucking get us fucking discovered. Yeah. Like, it's awesome.
Such a good scene. The fact that the guy Mac always has a razor, too, and he's always shaving his face.
Love it.
So uncomfortable, and then when he's just digging into his cheek.
So, for other quote options, what the hell are you? If it bleeds, we can kill it. And then also, Dylan, you son of a bitch!
Yeah.
What's the matter? The CIA got you pushing too many pencils, huh?
That's great.
Had enough? So good. Oh, so good. All right, so favorite quote might be a new category that we integrate from time to time, depending on the movie.
I'm gonna write that down.
I have some cast info. I think the cast in this movie is perfect, so I'm not even going to entertain the thought of replacements or alternatives. I'm just going to give you a few facts. Unless you had something. You go ahead.
I don't
you guys go first, and I'll go after. No, go ahead.
No
go
cast
ahead.
placements?
Nope.
So I feel like Carl Weathers kind of sucked in this movie. I feel like I didn't buy it.
That's his role, though. He's supposed to be selling the.
No, but I don't buy it. He shouldn't be playing a pain in the ass. Carl Weathers should be someone that you're rooting for. That character, he should be like Chubbs or like someone that you root for. Like he's not. He shouldn't be like the bad. Like he's viewed as the bad guy in that.
Well, yeah, because he's the CIA guy.
Yeah, so he's like I don't like this narc guy, basically. I feel like it should have been Tom Berenger. Tom Berenger would have played a much better dickhead. Like, I don't like this guy because it's Tom fucking Berenger.
Well, apparently Schwarzenegger actually requested that it be Carl Weathers for the role specifically, like by hand. So that's probably why. But I mean, was there anybody else in the movie in terms of characters that you guys were rooting against? I thought he was probably the only one.
Yeah.
No, yeah. I didn't.
It was just him.
Yeah.
He's meant to be, I mean, pretty much.
But he's,
Carl Weathers, Dylan.
If
Dylan and the U.S. government.
If Arnold doesn't like you, I don't like you.
Yeah, that's probably true.
And you pissed off Arnold.
Okay. Fair enough. What about you, Kat?
I had no cast replacements. None.
Okay.
I thought they were all great. I thought everyone did their role, perfectly, to be honest. I don't even know who I would... I don't even... Yeah. No, I'm going to leave it at that. I know, it's a long-winded thing.
Good answer. That's fine. That's actually fine. So, here's what I had. So, I was going to put this in facts, but I feel like this fit better in here, okay? So, do you guys know that the creature design for the Predator was originally supposed to be something completely different?
I did not.
Okay. No. What was the Predator supposed to look like?
So, basically, it was supposed to look more agile, more ninja-like, and it was originally supposed to be portrayed by Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Very interesting.
However, the original design for the Predator, if you go online and you Google Predator original design, you'll see what Van Damme looked like in the Predator suit, and it looks terrible. Absolutely awful. They made the right decision. But basically, he didn't like the design.
No. It's not nearly
as
complex.
He continually complained, and
I don't like that.
He complained about a number of things, including the fact the suit was too hot, and it was making him pass out in the Mexican jungle, which, okay, I think that's probably a valid complaint. But needless to say, it didn't work out, so they kicked him off the set and were like, fuck you, Jean-Claude Van Damme. Bye-bye. Also, to do with that, he's only 5'9", apparently. Schwarzenegger's 6'5", something like that. And he was replaced by Kevin Peter Hall, who I already mentioned. And they completely redesigned the creature. That's when Stan Winston came into effect, along with James Cameron's suggestions. And basically the guy who played the Predator, again, Kevin Peter Hall, he's actually visible without his Predator suit on towards the end of the movie when Dutch gets extracted from the jungle. He's one of the crew on the helicopter. So kind of a cool, fun fact. Safe to say there was a lot of controversy surrounding the design and execution of the creature in Predator. So.
Well, I like the final result because I think that it was way better than what it looked like it was going to be.
I agree. I'm with you. So we talked a little bit about nitpicks. I know you guys both mentioned you had a couple. We might have already talked about them a little bit, so if you want to talk about them further, go ahead. Kat, I'll start with you.
Pose. Cut. Sorry.
Okay. What's the matter?
I need to put on my thing. So my nitpick, which I guess maybe we've already talked about, was that I didn't think that who Predator was ever really explained in the movie.
It was just understood.
Right? I mean, it was just understood that it was an alien force or whatever. But I mean, I kind of wish that it was explained what the background was.
I feel like they do that in the other movies, though.
Well, I haven't seen the other movies. I
Well,
just
then
saw
you
the...
should see the other movies.
Well-
I think that's what they do. I don't actually know, and I don't think it really matters. So that's an invalid nitpick.
What do you
Your
mean
nitpick
it's invalid?
is invalid. You lose.
No.
Lost. Nitpick.
No, that's
Sorry.
no.
And I'm sure Mike would agree.
No, I think
nitpick
that
is invalid.
no,
Fail.
no fail. What about your nitpicks?
That's all you got?
Yeah, that I didn't
Your
think
invalid
that it was...
nitpick?
What do you mean it's an invalid? No, I wish that they explained, like, at some point, like, what the Predator was. Like,
Yeah,
who
but
knows?
that wasn't. It's not required for this movie.
What do you mean it's not required? Like, it's
an
there's
adventure.
no explanation. Like,
It's an adventure, sci-fi, whatever movie. That's not necessary. You're not going to give this long, detailed description of what you don't know makes
when you
it
do
scary.
like Godzilla versus Kong, you know where they
because
come
they've
from.
developed those movies for
Right.
so long.
But I mean, why didn't they develop this creature? I mean,
Because
I
it
would
just came out this
I-
first one. So they're not going to get into a huge backstory on it yet. You want to make sure people like the idea of it, and then you can get about into the backstory. That's not a legit nitpick.
I
Plus,
mean,
isn't there something to be said about ambiguity?
Yeah.
In terms of like
I
the backstory of
guess.
this creature, like, wouldn't you say?
I feel like
Do
your
you want
nitpick-
the whole
I
origin
do.
story of the
I
creature?
kind of want to know. I kind
in
of
one,
want
like
to
in
know.
most
one
people
movie,
would not.
in
No.
1 hour and a
I don't
half
think so.
movie. This
You
movie's
don't
like
have
an
enough
hour and a
time.
half.
You don't have enough time.
All you have to do
Four
is
movies.
say this is a creature from the planet Zurg. You know, like.
If I may, the first scene of the movie is a spaceship crashing onto planet Earth.
Yeah, and if
so
you
I think
may,
you're meant
too,
to understand this is an alien.
So,
Alright,
do
fair
you
enough.
need to know? So, one line would change everything for you. This is an alien from planet Zurg.
Yeah.
Then the movie would be phenomenal.
Yeah.
No nitpicks. Okay.
Okay.
A real nitpick?
No.
Here's a real
I
nitpick.
don't know.
Go ahead. What's
I mean,
yours?
When
I'm,
they-
I'm interested to hear
when they
yours.
invade,
Keep going. Just keep going.
when they invade that camp or whatever, and Arnold sees one of the hostages. I don't know how many hostages are here. Doesn't seem to fucking matter because
blows him away.
yeah, one of them dies. He sees him gets killed. One of the hostages was killed. We need to go, and then they just blow the whole place up, kill everybody. People are on fire. Place is burning down. They do find the one girl who's a hostage, I guess.
Yeah.
How is she randomly alive? She should have been burnt to a crisp in that inferno that they destroyed that place, and they didn't give a fuck about any hostages.
You know what I also found funny was at the beginning when they get off the helicopter and Arnold's talking to the military general and Dylan, Carl Weathers, and he said, "Why didn't you do Libya?" And he says, "Well, my team's a rescue team, not assassins." They killed 100 people in that raid.
We're not
people.
assassins. You murdered
Probably
everybody.
more than that. They killed everybody. Absolutely everybody.
Jesse Ventura walks around with the biggest gun I've ever seen.
Oh my god, it's so awesome.
He's
Such
essentially a walking turret.
Yeah.
Like, that movie's ridiculous.
That's the type of gun that's supposed to be hanging off a helicopter.
Not some guy.
Not somebody holding it. And he's just
My
like-
neck muscles are so big that I can hold this and rail people. And then
I
Mac
love
picks it up at
I
no,
love it.
nothing.
Okay. All right. I have no nitpicks with this movie, so I'm glad to hear dissenting opinions. So,
Doesn't change how I feel with the movie.
That's fine.
It's just fucking
That's fair
stupid.
enough.
Right.
Fuck
Fair
the Don't even bring up that there's hostages. Makes you look worse.
ready for new categories. Ready?
Another one? There's
Yeah.
another new
Yeah.
category? I don't
So-
know.
I'm going to throw MVP in the trash.
I like that. Fuck MVP because it's always the same.
I'm going to
always the
ask
same
you guys the best character and the worst character, both the same time.
Oh,
Andrew, I'll start with you.
Mac number 1.
Mac.
He delivers some of the best lines in that movie. He's
He's my favorite character,
You actually
too.
just feel like he.
Or we could. What do you
Is-
say? Well, hold on, wait, hold on a second. Should we do best character and worst character, or should we do favorite character and least favorite
I'm
character?
not prepared for that.
We're doing it on the fly. We can think for ourselves.
I mean, there's so
Andrew, what do
many-
you think?
I do this every week. Mac, I think.
No,
best,
I'm saying
favorite. My favorite and my least favorite.
Would you prefer it worded as
I
best
like
and worst
favorite,
character,
least, because that doesn't mean that they're the worst.
okay?
It's all opinion at this point. Not best,
don't
not
know.
worst.
I don't know
Least
who my-
and most favorite, because
I know
that's
my
a different
most
thing.
favorite, but I don't know my least favorite.
You can think about it. I know
Think
mine.
about
No,
it. You have
You
some
got time. Mac,
Andrew, so according to the new category, your most favorite character and your least favorite character.
Most favorite character, Mac. He's the best. He delivers the best lines. He gives off a certain legitimateness. Like, he belongs in these situations. He's perfect for this role. He does a phenomenal job with it.
Cool as a
cucumber. He delivers
cucumber.
every line. He's always shaving his face with that big razor and just on his dry skin, just and then he just peels it into his face when he sees something and it's like starts bleeding. And Carl Weathers is looking at him like, "What are you, a fucking maniac?" And yeah, that guy is a maniac. That's why he's so good. And in the same aspect, my least favorite character is Carl Weathers because he's a fucking bitch-made bitch, not made for the jungle. Shouldn't be there. Go push papers, like you've been told.
Pushing
right?
too many pencils.
Pushing too many pencils. Yeah, fuck Carl Weathers. That guy sucks. That's why I don't, and I like Carl Weathers in everything else. So that's why I think it should have just been Tom Berenger, because fuck Tom Berenger. Nobody likes him.
Okay, all right.
Fair.
So I guess my first answer would
Wait,
also
don't
be.
I
Do you need some time, or do you
No,
want to go?
I'm good. I'm
Okay,
good.
go ahead.
So my my top actor would be Arnold Schwarzenegger.
So Dutch. Yep.
Dutch, sorry.
Name of the character.
Is his last name Oven?
Oven. Yes.
And my least favorite, well, I would say he's the most favorite because he's obviously like lives to be the final guy and is the main protagonist in the entire movie. So
Who's your favorite character?
He's my favorite character because
He's your favorite character because he gets to the end. You just pick
He gets
pick
to the
whoever's
end.
the best
I
and
picked-
pick them.
I picked my final guy.
All right. Who's your least favorite character?
The woman that survives because she's not armed.
Okay.
I think
Not
that, like,
not just
she
because
should
she's
be-
a woman, because she
No,
sucks.
because she
Not
should
because she's a
be-
woman that's not armed.
No,
This
she
woman with
should-
no gun dies. I hate her.
No, she should. Never mind.
No, I agree. She's the worst.
Yeah, I didn't appreciate her. I thought she should be more badass, but that's fine. Michael, what's your favorite character and your least favorite character?
So I think my favorite character, I'm going to go off the board here. It could be boring, and I could say that it's Schwarzenegger, or I could say that it is Mac, because both those characters are probably the two best characters in the movie. I'm going to say Hawkins, who is the first one to die, and he gets blown the fuck apart, and you see that he's hung from a tree, completely fucking naked, whatever. But he's the one telling jokes. He's the one hanging out, having a good time, trying to tell jokes, trying to get everybody to, have a good time. So he's a great character. But if I had to pick my favorite character, it's going to be Billy. Billy is the best character in the entire movie, who's the tracker, the one that is constantly on alert during the entire movie. Billy is my favorite.
Fantastic.
And
Nice.
I would agree with you that my least favorite pick for the entire movie is going to be Anna, who's played by Elpidia Carrillo. I think she's from
Thank you for
That's who
looking
you
that
picked?
up. Yes, that was the one girl that was in
Yeah,
the
so
entire
Anna.
movie.
So
for
I
the
would
most
say
part.
Billy is my favorite and Anna is my least favorite. So, who died the hardest in this movie? Who died the
Is
best?
this another new category?
It's
Who
another
died
way,
the hardest?
It's another way of me saying what
Best
the
kill?
what the best death is. I was just
Why do you have to
putting
say
it-
it differently? This is too many adjustments. Like in one episode, you're changing all the categories. Can you just say best kill?
Catherine, who had the best death? Go ahead.
Best death. There you go. I actually got really queasy with all of the different skinned human remains.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna say that skinned human remains is my best
Skinned
death.
human remains. Okay.
Yeah. The
Andrew.
ones that are like falling from the trees.
I
and
can't
stuff.
remember who it
It's
was.
gross.
Wasn't Jesse. Wasn't Mac. The white nerdy guy with glasses.
Hawkins.
Hawkins. Was it him that you see the predator ripping his spine out?
That's Billy.
That's Billy.
That's Billy.
Yeah, that is the
After
best
he's
death.
on the log.
Yeah, because when he does that, and that's where you finally see that the predator keeps trophies, like he
Yeah.
has his trophies.
I like that a
That's
lot.
so good.
Yeah, very good. Very good. I actually think that's also my best death. Yeah, I would agree with that.
It's not even the
Because
death bug,
again,
it's
like
the
you know,
ripping of the
for
spine.
most of the movie, you don't really see a lot. You see the aftermath of what happens. And at that particular point, you see this guy dead, and he's like ripping his spine out.
Like nothing.
Yeah.
It's like Mortal Kombat, the new game.
It actually is like Mortal Kombat. Like, yeah,
it was probably a little bit of an influence for them.
Right?
Yep. So, we normally also talk about haunted attractions, and I will not even ask the question at this point because I know that this would make a very good haunted attraction, and it turns out that it already has.
I was going to say, this would make a really great haunted attraction.
Yeah.
Like through the jungle. I mean,
yeah.
it's amazing. I mean, it would be awesome to do this.
Well, so 7 years ago, back in 2014, Universal Studios in Orlando and Hollywood both did a haunted house based on Alien versus Predator.
We went to... Did we go to that?
We did not go to that.
No, I was like...
Unfortunately.
But we went... There was one that we went to that was like a... Kind of a war scene. I forget what it was.
Yeah, it wasn't that one.
I forget which one it was.
But
that's fine. Sorry, continue.
But yeah, so in 2014, there was an Alien versus Predator haunted house on both coasts, and they did a lot of work with a lot of puppets for aliens and live actors playing Predator. It looked great, so this would make a great haunted house if it were to happen. So normally I would ask if it's deserving of a sequel. We've already kind of talked about that.
I was gonna say it already is, correct?
Yeah, I think we've kind of gone far enough at this point. So I would ask both of you guys, do you have any final thoughts on Predator before we wrap things up tonight? Andrew, I'll start with you.
I would just say, if you haven't seen it, watch it. If you haven't seen Predator 2, watch it. If you haven't seen Predators, watch it. If you haven't seen The Predator, according to Mike, watch it.
Yeah.
So just fucking watch it.
They're all good. They're all good. Catherine?
My final thoughts is I need to watch everything else besides just this one movie, as according to Andrew, what he just said. Because I haven't seen any of those
just
ones.
fucking watch it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll watch all of those since Andrew told me to.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, my final thought is it's a great movie. It's a classic. I can understand why. And, yeah, I'm excited to get on board with all the sequels now that Andrew has told me to watch them and everyone else on the podcast.
I mean, from what I would say, when you think about movies from the 80s, I don't know how you come up with a list of 80s movies in general, not just 80s horror movies, and you don't include Predator on this list. This is the best Schwarzenegger movie. This is the best action horror movie from the 80s. It's an absolute classic, and if you haven't seen it, like, in all honesty, what are you doing? You're not a movie fan.
Would you
how?
include Terminator as a horror movie?
No, it's not.
I can see it. I can see it. I can see
From
it.
the past, future, different realm, whatever. It's a fucking alien cyborg coming from the future to
take over everything.
Yeah.
And I mean, I can see it. I can see it. I can see it. Because it's an alternate depiction of the future that is, supposed to be very negative. So I can see it. I can see it. All right, folks. Well, thanks for tuning in to another episode of America's Hometown Horror. Hi, thank you, Otis, at the Spooky Hound Dog. My name is Mike, and I've been joined by my esteemed co-hosts tonight, Kat and Andrew. Hope you enjoyed the episode. Here's where you can find us on the following social media platforms and where you can find our show. So basically, first and foremost, you can find our show on our website, which is ahhpod.com. That's apod.com. You can also find us, just search for America's Hometown Horror on YouTube and Facebook. Just search for it. You'll find us right away. On Twitter, we're at Hometown Horror, and on Instagram, we're at Hometown Horror Pod. You can also drop us a line at hometownhorrorpodcast@gmail.com, and you can find our show on Apple, Google, Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Spreaker, and wherever else you may get your podcasts. My name is Mike. Thanks again for listening. I've been joined by my co-hosts and the spooky hound dog. Oh, yes. Say goodbye to your listeners, folks.
Adios, amigos.
Bye.
Later.
Good evening. Hey everyone, it's Mike from America's Hometown Horror, and just wanted to say thank you again for listening to another episode of our show, because of course, we would be nothing without you listeners. If you are interested in more local Plymouth podcasts, I would highly recommend you check out some shows by our cohorts on the Inebriart Podcast Network. That's right, the Inebriart Podcast Network, folks. In addition to America's Hometown Horror, you can find the Inebriart Podcast, Bar Talk, Theme Park Legends, Retro Redoctopus, and Old Colony Cast. Head on over and give them a listen.